Okay.
Okay, we are going to start. What did I just do? I want to welcome everyone back to Talk to Me Africa. Today, I am honored to host a coach. You talk to women. I love when women talk to other women. But let me tell the audience that you are Coach Ronda Goodridge. You say that you help women women get hurt by relationships and you help them heal.
Yes.
That is so good. Anyway, so you are a life and health coach, you're a functional nutrition counselor at Life in the Hard Places Coaching. Welcome to Talk to Me Africa, Miss Ronda. You look beautiful. Thank you for prepping yourself to come to the show.
Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity just to be able to share with our community.
I really appreciate that. So, what is life in the hard places? Life is always hard sometimes, but what is that specific thing you mean by life in the hard places?
Well, what I mean by life in the hard places is discovering how to thrive, even when facing intense challenges in life.
Mm-hmm. That's simple. So, how do you thrive even when you face intense challenges in life?
Well,
What are some
essentially,
of, yeah, go ahead. What are some of those intense challenges in life that will put us in the hard places?
oh, there's so many of them. Um, it's funny, my dad always says, just keep on living. And there's some challenges like divorce. That for me was one of the biggest challenges that I've had. There's also a challenge of just for me being an African American in America and not following the status quo. That was a big challenge. I got resistance from my own community for studying, and then I got resistance from the dominant culture for studying. So it's kind of like, where do you fit in there? That's a huge challenge. And, sometimes that self-doubt that we have just because of the challenges we face. Well, am I really good enough? Am I really okay? So those are some of the challenges that I talk about, in life in the hard places, because they're all things that are within. And in order to learn to thrive, we have to learn to deal with those things.
That's right. And these are challenges that you see specifically with women or with men as well?
Well, I am my niche, as they call it. I work exclusively with women. Now, the issues that we deal with aren't necessarily just women's issue. I mean, if there's a divorce, the man and the woman both got divorced.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there are issues on both sides, but I bring my experience as a woman and working with women for years to the table. And with that, I feel most comfortable working with women.
That's great. Shout out to Dr. Mercy of All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care who just joined. She says, I know I'm going to like this discussion. And she also adds thriving in hard places. I think that's what you help women to do. Are there any personal stories about your own divorce that you like to share and that led you to talking to women about, life in the hard places?
Oh, most definitely. And the first thing I'd like to say is I don't believe in divorce. I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I believe that if you make a commitment before God and those witnesses, you need to honor that commitment. However, sometimes there are circumstances that you're not able to do that. And for me, it was a devastating experience. Just the realization that I had made a commitment to someone, I had given my heart, my everything to someone who didn't value me, who didn't respect me, and who basically, was verbally and mentally abusive. That to me was one of the most devastating things. And when I feel like I really got that permission from God to go through with the divorce, it was the best thing. I like it though too, having open heart surgery without anesthesia.
Wow.
It
That
was
intense, huh?
was that intense. And I remember leaving the courtroom knowing that I'd done the right thing, but that didn't make it hurt any less.
Before we began the show, your current husband came and prayed with you, which is something I have never had on the show before. A guest comes in and prays before the show starts. I'm a Christian, and that touched me because I would always say my own silent prayer before I start most shows. But to have a guest do that, I really got a little bit emotional because I'm like, wow, people do really pray for the things that we consider, minor, small. It's just a talk show, right? Yet you say you don't believe in divorce, but God told you to. You're not believing in divorce. Did that come from your Christian background or it was an individual thing?
From my Christian background,
Mm,
because it says God hates divorce,
yeah.
and I know personally why God hates divorce. He does not want us to go through that devastation and pain.
Mm-hmm.
However, he does give us reasons why it's permissible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his first choice, but in cases of abuse,
Mm-hmm.
it's permissible. And in
Mm-hmm.
cases of, infidelity, the person you're married to is not being faithful to you, it's permissible. When you've got someone who, if you are a Christian and you're married to somebody who's like, not into that Christian thing,
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
you, then again, it's permissible there as well. Now,
Mhm.
not a theologian, just a student of the Bible.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, like I said, I can just, get over my brain of what your husband just did praying for you. That is really good. Like I said, sometimes we pray because we are in that hard place, which you are talking about to your women. But going to a talk show and just talk, people will be like, I'll be all right. Now you're calling God to be with you here today. I just had to go back to that again and say, thank you for doing that. Now, what makes a once upon a time loving couple just get to that place where they cannot stand each other? What do you think causes that?
Well, there are a number of things that
Mm.
cause that. Um, a lot of times it's what I call married living single.
Married, living, single. Explain.
Mhm. So you're married, you went to the justice of the peace, you went before the pastor, and you said, we are going to be a couple, we are going to live together in harmony and collaboration,
Mhm.
but you still have that real independent tree
Mhm.
where he wants to be married and have benefits,
Mhm.
but still do his thing. And you want to be married and, have other benefits,
Mhm.
but you still want to be able to do your own thing.
Mhm.
And the natural tendency in marriages is to drift apart.
Wow.
And if you want your marriage to stay together, it's
Mhm.
very intentional and it takes work.
Mhm.
Now, that's something the first time I got married, I didn't know.
Mm.
I assumed you make the commitment and it just happens.
Mhm. Smooth sail.
Woohoo, we're in love. That's going to conquer everything. Uh, no,
No,
no.
no.
You still have two very different people
Mhm.
who are in one household and having to truly put a lot of their own desires to the side.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you put your personhood aside. That's something completely different. But you put a lot of your desires aside for the
Mhm.
benefit of the team, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when people are married, they see the rose-colored glasses, they see, the extra benefits that come with it, but they don't see the work
You don't see
that
the work.
comes with it.
Yeah, they don't see the work that comes with it. Let me read a comment from Facebook. Dr. Mercy says, I have noted well that those who thrive more are those who have been through a lot as well. The strong people are not those who have not gone through challenges, but those who overcome them. And she also says, no one goes into a marriage hoping for a divorce. However, if after several efforts, it is costing more than rewarding, moving away might be the best. That's what you said. You don't believe in it, but you had to because that's where it got to. So what are the signs that will tell you that I have to end this?
Well, a lot of it has to do with how people are treating each other.
Mm.
And I'm one of the loudest voices against domestic violence.
Good.
And,
Good.
a lot of times, women are told you have to take it, you have to take it. You're a woman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, God loves you just like he loves the man. And if you are being treated with contempt, disrespect,
Yeah.
verbally abused, the psychological abuse, the gaslighting, and the gaslighting, we talk about the term all the time. What does it really mean? It's a form of manipulation where somebody is trying to make you believe that you don't have all of your senses together. There's something wrong with you, and they use manipulation to do that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with domestic violence, it's a power and control game. If where one person wants to assume all the power, and sometimes it's a financial thing, sometimes it's they're bigger, they're stronger. Sometimes it's, you know what? If I told your friends what you're really like, they wouldn't love you either. So you have to stick with me. So again, there's that whole manipulation thing.
For
If you have,
real.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, I
If you
have
have,
not been divorced before, but I have, talked with people who have been like you. I'm learning a lot every time I host the show. And I tend to really wonder how somebody whom you meet and they proclaim all this love to you simply turn and become a different person.
a lot of it, again, a lot of it's manipulation. Domestic violence, abuse, it's something that's learned. We don't naturally come out of the womb saying, "Ooh, I'm going to make someone's life miserable."
Right.
We're more like, "Ooh, I want to get my needs met. It's time
Right.
to eat
Mm-hmm.
again." It's something that's learned.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're talking to somebody who has come from an abusive family life
Mm-hmm.
or a family life that was just unhealthy in any number of ways, then they are more suspect, so to speak. And also, if you've come from an environment where you were not affirmed, you are not really shown your value to the point where you can internalize it, you're more likely to be a victim of these kinds of unhealthy relationships.
You said that,
And
you're told that women are told to take it, take it, take it. That's so true. I mean, this show is called Talk to Me Africa. I'm African. And that is how women in Africa grew up. You find the woman being told to persevere, take it. At least you have a husband. If you leave, what happens to your children? At least you have a man, you have a roof over your head. Is that persevere, stay there? Is it worth it? Because sometimes it could cost you your life.
and that's the thing. Even if it doesn't cost your life physically, there are so many other consequences. Internally, knowing who you are, who God created you to be. I mean, I know for me, I can remember after getting divorced and looking in the mirror, and my eyes were completely hollow. And I didn't even recognize who I was because all that
Wow.
was me had been ripped out of me. And that's honestly a different type of death.
It's a different type of death.
It
You're
really
alive, but
is.
you are dead.
Exactly. I mean, one of my themes for my practice is stop coping, start living. And I know a lot of times as women, and I know for me, we cope, we go to work, we do what we have to do, we get stuff done, we get stuff done. But that's not living. That's just surviving. And for me, just surviving is not enough. It's thriving.
It's thriving.
Another thing I want to get back to as well is when you stay, what are you teaching your children? Because, as I was saying before, a lot of times people who go into unhealthy relationships saw that modeled in their childhood. So by staying and having the roof over your head, you're teaching your children, especially your daughters, you know what? The man is going to make all the money. And as long as you be quiet, then you'll be okay. And you just take whatever. And honestly, as a woman, I mean, that's not how I was brought up.
Yeah.
I was brought up, get an education, take care of yourself. You won't have to depend on a man.
Absolutely.
And that's what I took to heart. And honestly, I've never had to depend on a man, and it's been good.
That's good. it should be a partnership, not a dependency of one person on the other. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a joint thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not one and the
No.
other or
Right.
one and the other. It's together. It's a collaboration. It's a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And back to what I was saying, you also don't want your sons to believe that you use power and might to get what you want in a relationship,
Yeah.
because that's not healthy. And you're setting somebody else's daughter up for a world of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And as women, we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I went to a conference one time where the speaker said she left because she had boys. She didn't want her boys to know that is how a man should treat a woman. And she wants to raise boys who would know how to treat their girlfriend, their wives in a better way. And it goes both ways. You don't
It
have to
does.
let your daughters think and know that this is how a woman is supposed to be treated. You get to stay because the man can provide for you. On the other hand, you have to let your sons know that that is not how to treat a woman. How do we unlearn this for a child, be it a male or female, who grew up in a household where there is this abuse, there's this violence that leads to divorce, and they want to have a good life, not like what their parents had that led to a divorce, a good marriage? How do you unlearn that if you grew up in such an environment?
I'm an advocate of counseling.
Mm,
My degree's back there somewhere.
that's your
Um,
blackboard, yes. We'll talk about that.
but I mean, you're a lot of times people just think I'm making the decision, oh, I won't do that. You won't. You will.
You will.
Unless you do something consciously to alter the direction of your upbringing in your life, you will fall back into those patterns that were comfortable to you at the time. And you're going to end up with the same results because you don't have the tools to do anything differently. So I would strongly encourage counseling, trauma counseling, if there was cases of abuse. There are also 12-step groups. There's like Codependence Anonymous, and I'd plug Melanie's Beatty's book, Codependent No More. And a lot of times it's the woman who's codependent, which means I will make myself small so that this man will stay with me. And that's something that, the book takes a look at in codependency in general. Codependence No More. Sorry, what is it? It's the Codependent Anonymous group.
Yeah.
That looks at that specifically, because I like to say that each and every one of us, we're designer originals.
Yes.
God created each and every one of us different, uniquely, and for a particular purpose. So he didn't make junk. We're all valuable. And it's for us to be able to live according to that value that he's given us, and to treat others as though they've been given that value.
That's
As
right.
they have.
That's right. That's right. I love the comments that are coming online here from Dr. Mercy. Like I said, she's the founder of All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care, and she deals with mental health. So most people always say that you stay, like you say, you're dead without being dead, because it is mostly mental. The torture that people go through in marriage is mostly mental, unless you're actually wounded to some physical violence that people can see. But it's usually mental. So I can see why she really does connect with the show today. And she says things like priorities change over time and couples find themselves in different directions. And I think it will take a lot of work, like you said, to stay meshed together for that relationship to work. And she also says, even if the physical cost is missed, the emotional and mental costs are sometimes greater. See, again, this is Talk to Me Africa, and I always like to piggyback on my African background, where when you talk about women depending on men, I grew up in an environment where most women, including my mother, depended on men for their survival financially. Most women did not work. And sometimes, even when the women have had like college education, housewife is what they will end up becoming. And I'm not kidding you. Women had like their ID cards, profession, housewife. It's like that's what you do. That's who you are. And so you find these women depending on the men a lot because they don't have a job. They don't work. But in the United States, when I came here, I realized that you can do anything to get a job. You can always find something to do, no matter how small the pay is. So how often do you talk to women whom you realize depend wholly on the man for their financial support?
It's funny you mentioned that because pretty much all of the women that I work with are coming out of or have come out of an unhealthy relationship. And sometimes it is that whole financial, I have to stay with him because he's providing.
Yeah.
But sometimes too, it's I'm the breadwinner and I'm still getting filled with contempt. And it's either way, it's still hard to leave. But I just go back to one of my friends years ago where there was also the physical abuse involved. And I like to say that the emotional, verbal, and mental abuse always happens before the physical abuse.
Okay.
So one of those red flags, if you're being called out of your name, if there's manipulation, you can wait around for the physical to start, or you can get the heck out of there, which is what I did.
So it always almost often leads to the physical after it's been emotional for such a long time.
Yes.
So you have to know who your person is to be able to tell what those signs are. Like you said, a good one is if you're being called something other than your name or the beautiful pet name that you've been given, then you know there's something not right.
Or if what you're saying is dismissed, well, that's not really significant. Or, you know what, you're just worrying about stuff too much. Or, it really, you're making too much of it. You're making such a big deal out of something that's so important. In some way to diminish what you're saying, your thoughts or your beliefs. It starts with that sort of a thing. And then once we've depersonalized someone, then we can do whatever we want to them. I mean, it's nothing more than, say my coffee cup.
Yeah.
It's nothing else, just another object.
Yeah. Do you find cases where the women make excuses for the man? Oh, he was angry. Oh, but I didn't clean the house properly. Oh, but the food wasn't to his taste. Do you have cases where we, the women, give excuses for the man, treating us badly? I'm saying women because your niche is women. We're not saying that abuse is only from the man to the woman, but here today, you are a coach for the women. So do you find women saying that, oh, well, it was my fault?
Women do that all the time.
All the time.
I'm serious. We take responsibility for things that aren't us. I mean, I've heard, and it's not funny, it's really sad. I made him angry, and that's why he hit me. Well, let's think about that. At work, does his boss sometimes make him angry?
Yeah.
Does he go around punching him out?
Yeah.
So it's something that is controlled. If someone sees you as a weaker person, somewhere where they can get away with it, then they'll do it. So a lot of times we take responsibility for things that honestly, it's not us. Everybody can make their own decisions. And I'm not responsible for your decisions. You're not responsible for my decisions. So if you decide as an act of your will to do, to throw the food because you didn't like it, or to call me stupid because I was 5 minutes late getting home and your dinner wasn't ready, that's not on me. That's on you.
On you. Yeah, that's on you. That's on you. Wow, this is interesting. Is it possible, therefore, to break this cycle of unhealthy relationship? Yeah, we talked about children would learn this, but it's possible to get out of it. At what point in your life do you realize that I need to get out of this? Oh, I'm becoming my mother. I'm becoming my father. That's how they were. At what point can that be broken?
It's funny you say that because actually last fall, I partnered with another coach and we did a series of workshops called Breaking the Cycle of Unhealthy Relationships.
Yeah.
And you can. It does start with awareness, though. And the thing is, a lot of times as women, especially if we're in those unhealthy relationships, we no longer trust our judgment. And we really need to start trusting our judgments.
Mm.
And if something seems a little off,
Then it's off.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's when, gosh, I talked about like Codependence Anonymous. There are other groups. I mean, I went through Celebrate Recovery, which is which is a Christian 12-step group.
Mm-hmm.
And I met other women there with all different kinds of issues. We all got issues. But being
Yeah, we
able
all
to
do.
yeah, but being able to have someone truthful and honest that you can actually share something with. So a lot of times in those unhealthy relationships, they're like, oh, you can't tell anybody else. Nobody will understand. Our relationship is special. Or you can't tell somebody else. They'll think you're crazy too.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to step out to
Yeah.
somebody who actually is trustworthy sometimes to get validation for what we already in our hearts know is true. And that's the first step. And then after that, you just continue to look for like those red flags. I mean, I've mentioned several of them.
You gotta know your person to know what red flags are.
I mean,
Yeah, because some people, if they use like curse words around each other and it's normal, then that's their life. To another couple, if those words are not used and then you start hearing them, then there's something not right. So you gotta know your person so you can tell those signs.
Exactly. And I mean, different things like, putting you down, that's a red flag anyway.
Yeah.
Invalidating, your beliefs, that's something else. Anything that makes you feel really uncomfortable, there's usually a reason for that instead of just saying, oh, it's just me being oversensitive.
Yeah.
A lot of times it will say, oh, you're just being overly sensitive. You really need to look at the core of that. What is it? And, if that's the case, then you can actually get help with a coach like me, or a counselor, or even a 12-step group. And sometimes, I know for me, some of my closest friends are the ones who we went through this 12-step journey together. And actually, 3 of the 4 of us are divorced. And we were able to talk each other through, because you need somebody who's on the outside, able to see what's going on the inside. Because sometimes you're just so close to something you really can't see it. You have something else to kind of listen out for too. If your good friends or family are saying they have reservations about this person, there might be a reason that's worth investigating. Now, I mean, sometimes, sometimes it's something irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's true. But sometimes it's something to actually, pay attention to, because it might actually be something that you need to consider.
I agree. Now, you post online that, hi there, I am dedicated to helping women rise from ashes of broken relationships to create fulfilling lives. And you ask the question why, and you also provide an answer where you say, I divorced an abusive husband. While the divorce cut legal ties and inner battles for my faith, self-confidence, sense of worth, and purpose continued. Now that's for you. You divorce that person. Why? You give a reason. What is that one reason that you hear from the women you talk to that, led them to say, I'm done? What is that thing that broke the camel's back, like people say sometimes?
He hit me.
That
A
was
lot of
the breaking
times,
point.
a lot of times I'll wait for that, or he cut off all the finances so that I couldn't do anything. Sometimes that's a reason. Sometimes too, I mean, I've got another friend who picked up and left because she said, I'm just tired of being mistreated and demeaned.
Drained.
Yeah. And I'm just tired of that. And I'm out. And so she picked up, moved into a house, and went on with her life.
That sounds easy. I mean, easier said than done, but how do you get back that confidence when you go through that and you say, okay, I'm done, I'm going to leave. You up and you leave. How do you become yourself again, detached from somebody that you were, attached to for maybe a year or two, maybe 15, 20 years?
Well, it's a process. And you really need to give yourself grace. I tend to be a little perfectionistic. Doesn't work here. You really have to go through that whole, you hear about Kubler-Ross, the cycle of grief. You really do have to go through all of it. You can't rush it. You can't jump steps. So, I mean, you go through the denial, you go through the anger, you go through the bargaining, the depression. I got stuck there for a really long time. And then you can move on to the acceptance. And one of the biggest things that, I think one of the biggest things that you have to do is like recognize that this is no longer the way I want to go. And for me, I was in that depths of depression. I looked in the mirror that day and said, who in the world is this woman? I mean, I was like, I don't know who she is, but I don't like her.
Yeah.
So you have to start with that recognition. And then I said there's like the 5 commitments that you make. One is to throw out that old messaging, because chances are you are hearing things that were telling you that you were less than. It could have been from that spouse. It could have been from your parents growing up. It could have been from an uncle and aunt, a teacher. But whoever said it, it became part of you. And you keep replaying that message, even if that person's gone. So you have to commit to throw out that old messaging. You have to commit to change. And that is commit to replacing that old messaging with new information. And that's going to mean that you're going to have some new associations, which can be a little scary because a lot of times as women, at least for me, I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I got myself into this situation. I wasn't really keen on sharing that. But you have to commit to that change. You have to commit to self-discovery, determining who you are again. And, if you got, married when you were like 18, 19, you may have been with that person most of your life, and you don't even know who that is. So, actually in my group, Embracing Women for Change, then you learn again who you are. What do you like? What kinds of goals do you want to have for yourself? But I call it, you start the journey of self-discovery. And for me, one of the keys of that was just learning for myself, who does God say that I am?
I like that.
Because quite honestly, when you learn who God says that you are, you're not going to put up with a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're just not. Commit to becoming. And that's living out that process. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to, go backwards, and then you're going to go forwards. But committing to that process of becoming, and committing to just stop, coping with life. Okay, I'm here, I'm doing it. And really go to embrace the life that you want to live. And the last part of that is commit to yourself.
Commit to yourself. Okay.
Commit that I am going to do what it takes. I am going to have a coach. I am going to be part of a structured
Put me
program.
first.
I am going to do what I need to do to truly become the person who I want to become. Even though sometimes you may not be confident that's so possible. But I'm committing to follow that process so that I can get there. So I call those the 5 commitments that you make, so that you can go from where you were, that person who you may not even have liked, to become that person who's truly living again.
Yeah. You mentioned shame. And from my African perspective, shame when it comes to divorce is usually mated on the woman. Oh, it's a shame that you got divorced. No man's going to want you after you've had 2, 3, 4 kids. Who is going to marry you? Your life has ended. Go back to your parents' house. The shame is associated with the woman most of the time, not with the man, from my African perspective. How is it with the American side of the story?
Same.
Women all over the world have the same trouble that they face. Same.
I mean, the question that I got most often, and every single one I've talked to, what did you do?
Yeah, like it's your fault. Blame.
Oh, Okay. And then, you know, in the case of physical abuse, I put my head out there so he could hit me. I mean, what did I do?
I asked for it. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
I wish I knew the answer to that.
Ah,
But it sounds like it's a common phenomenon internationally.
it is. The woman is always blamed. And then, you know what? Women. Anyway, so have you had a situation or heard of one or spoke to a client of yours who went back to the spouse?
Well, I know it's going to sound totally crazy, but um, I ended up remarrying the person who I divorced. Yeah. We were separated for 11 years. I was not looking for him. I was dating other people. I don't know what the heck he was doing, but that's his whole thing. I really didn't care. But you know, I mean, God worked in his life and in my life, and I got that permission from God saying, okay, it's okay. But it's not just, okay, God told me.
Mhm.
I also watched consistency over time.
Mhm.
Not a simple I'm sorry. I mean, you know, before divorce and I'm sorry may have meant something, but after all that stuff, I'm sorry doesn't mean diddly squat.
Yeah.
But looking for changed behavior, looking for changed character, looking for changed associations, looking for the way that I'm treated. I am precious and I
Yes,
need to be
yes.
treated that way. So those were the things that I looked for consistently over time before I would even give it dating a second thought.
Okay.
And then when I saw that, we started dating, and a couple years later, we ended up getting remarried. I actually have another friend who did the same thing. And, you know, since then, they've had two kids. Kids have grown up. They're happy as clams in ministry and everything. So it happens.
So in your own situation, you remarried and you divorced him again?
Oh, no, 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 no. I was divorced once.
Wait, so your husband who prayed for you is one you divorced before?
That's it.
Wow. This is a very unique story.
It is.
Wow. So how
And
long have you been remarried now for?
um, this is our seventh year.
No way.
Yeah.
This is a twist. Wow. All right. So, okay, one more question about this husband of yours. Please, I know you're watching, dear husband, and technical assistant. I'm not trying to pick on you, but what is more special now the second time around? I saw the prayer, of course. He's now your technical assistant. But what is more special the second time around?
I think a lot of it is that we've been through such hardship that we truly appreciate the relationship more.
Mm.
That is one major thing.
Wonder you gave me
And
chills. I just,
and
yeah, wow.
it's one thing too to say I'm a Christian, I go to church. It's another thing to live for the Lord as a disciple.
Mhm.
And that's the change now. I mean, we pray together several times a week. We go to church together. We share what God is talking to us about, but not just that. In our lives, you can see, I mean, you know, for Christians, it's called the fruits of the Spirit.
You
You
can
can
see it.
see,
I could see it for 2 minutes online when he came to help me and prayed for you. I mean, this is the best. If I had known this before I got prepared for this show, I think it would have been a whole different conversation. But this is so heartwarming to know that you remarried the person you divorced from.
it's God, it's all God.
Rhonda, you are a special human being. Your husband is blessed as well. I love this. You just made my day. I had no idea that the person that is your husband is the one you divorced from a long time ago. Wow. Please, okay. Now, just say a couple of sweet words to your husband right now.
Baby, I just love how you're always supportive of me and how you're always looking out for my good. And I'm blessed that you're my husband.
A question that most Africans would ask you if you did this, they would ask you, did you go back because you had children together?
Nope. Unfortunately, our children are in heaven.
God bless their souls. Because that's the one thing that most people in my African culture would stick with. And I remember one of the most important and most memorable weddings I ever attended in Cameroon while I was still in Cameroon. And one of the most, I would say, important sermons I heard at the wedding was the preacher telling the couple that as I'm getting you married here today, I don't see any children. Because a lot of times when it gets bad, you hear the woman say, oh, I'm going to stay because of my children. And even if I leave, I'll come back because of my children. And he said, I don't see any children here right now. So this is the two of you. It is your road. Travel it together. Your
Yes.
story is unique and special. Do you have a book about this?
No.
You
Not
should.
to say I wouldn't write one, but no.
You should.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's talk about your brag wall behind you. What do you have?
Basically, I've got undergrad degree. I've got a master's in counseling.
Mhm.
I've also got certifications in life coaching, health coaching, functional nutritional counseling,
Mhm.
um, and just kind of other little things here and there. Um, Certifications, domestic violence, um, achievements, professional achievements, just leadership achievements, just different things that I can look at from time to time and just be grateful for the road that God has brought me on and just the ways that He's blessed me.
That's good.
It's not lost on me.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Well, how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about life in their hard places? I see lifeinthehardplaces.com. That's your website. And also lifeinthehardplaces@gmail.com. Do you have another means of contact?
Most definitely. Life in the Hard Places Instagram.
Instagram.
We post there at least twice a week. We have several lives. So, excuse me, connect with us, Life in the Hard Places on Instagram.
Okay, that's awesome. Rhonda, do you want to say anything else to any woman who might be going through a hard time, who might be stuck in a hard place and not knowing what to do?
I think probably one thing that I would want every woman to know
Mhm.
is that every woman deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And that means you.
That means you, every woman. Thank you so much for taking the time and look so beautiful and come to talk to me, Africa, and share your story. And before I let you go, I did ask you for a proverb, a wise word, or a favorite quote so you can share with us and just try to explain to us what it means after you say it.
Ooh, okay. Um, Let me see. Hmm. You are enough. And I say that because a lot of times as women, I think if I was smarter, if I was prettier, if I had a better job, then I'd be okay. But the truth of the matter is, you are okay
Yeah.
just the way you are. You are enough. You're a designer's original.
Yes, I like that. Your design is original. Wow. Rhonda Goodrich, thank you so much for accepting to be my guest on Talk to Me Africa today, and for sharing your story. And thank you so much for helping many women to, find themselves after being stuck in hard places. Thank you. And may God bless you. And God bless your relationship with your husband. It's a beautiful one. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you another time. Bye-bye.